Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Cyber Potato, where I'll be teaching you about JavaScript and web development. So, I love dogs, and I found this wonderful API that you can use to find some information about dogs. So let me start by explaining what is an API. It's shorthand for Application Programming Interface. And uh, in this particular case, what I mean by it is there's a lots and lots of data in the internet all over the world. And as you can imagine, it doesn't live in each and every one person's computer. You don't have your Facebook stored on your hard drive. No. All the data lives in the data centers, in the databases, and there has to be a way for a client app or a web application to fetch this data and display to a client. And the so-called man in the middle between the databases and the client is the API, is the layer that enables the client to get the data from the data center. And today we will be interacting with our first API, and we'll be fetching information about dogs to display them. We'll be trying to recreate what we have here. So it's you can choose some kind of dog breed, and then you should get an image of it. Okay? So yeah, we'll be doing this with standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This is gonna be our chance to actually get familiar with HTTP protocol and working with the API. So let's get to it. I have an empty project right here. I start by creating index HTML. So nothing new here. Just do HTML5 and let's call it Dogos. Okay. What we'll need is some style sheet. Let's call it main CSS, so nothing new here, and some JavaScript main.js. Let's link those. So this is gonna be main, and also here I'm gonna add a script. src is gonna point us to main.js, and the type is naturally text JavaScript. Okay, and we're ready to go. Let me just start the live server. Okay. Yeah, we're here, as you can tell. Okay. What I would like to do is add an icon to it. Maybe, or maybe not. Yeah, I would like to add some dog icon. Let me see. What looks nice? Everything looks nice. This is cool. This is kind of cool. Okay, let me just copy image address. And we'll do link favicon, and the graph is gonna be here. Is this going to work? Yeah, this is working, but I can see that there is this small white outline, and I don't like it, so let's find something transparent. Oh, this is great. Okay, let's just change this real quick. Okay, this should fix it. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, let's start with something simple like adding a header. So select your doggo. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. Okay, maybe we'll add a bit of CSS to it. So let's go here and start adding stuff. Header, it's gonna have gradient some type. It's gonna be background linear gradient, and I have something like this. RGBA. This, you can put anything you like here, really. And now we have second color, 45 and 100%. Yeah, text align. I need to add the semicolon. Okay, text align, center, color. I know. Something like this. Margin 0 and margin bottom 42 and yeah. Oh, so yeah, naturally the browser is adding its own styles. You can see it. You can see it. You can see it here. Body has margin added to it. So let's just simply reset that. I don't know why they did it. Actually, no idea why is browser behaving that way. It's not helping really. Okay, I'd like to add some padding. So it's gonna be this and this. No, it's not gonna be this and this, it's gonna be this. And these two first values are for the top and the bottom, and the second value is for left and right. Okay, now we're talking. What else? I would love to add cool font, so let's go to Google Fonts. There's a font called Little One. There was a font called Little One. Lilita One, sorry. Oh yeah, this is the one. Let's add it real fast. And we'll move to JS soon, because that's what we wanna do here actually. And this is gonna be Lita 1 cursive. Okay, so we have the basic laid out. So what do we have to start with is, let's just check if everything is working correctly, but I believe it is. We need to connect to the API, and fetch all information about available breeds of the dogs. Okay, so we'll start simply by saying fetch, because dogs fetch. Stop it. Breeds, get some help. Okay, let's start with that. Fetch doggo breeds is a function. It's an arrow function because why not? Okay. Now, there has to be some kind of interface that we could use to connect to the API to fetch the data from it. And there is. Each browser, I believe most of them, has a fetch function that you can call to connect to the API. Okay? So let's try and call it. When we're trying to get some information from the API, we're performing GET request. And to perform that, you need to know the URL that you are calling. So the URL is like the location of the data that you'd like to fetch. For our use, we'll be using, let's find the dogs, breeds, list the breeds. Yeah, there's a page limit, and here's the call. And as you can see, we have the JSON returning from the internet with lots and lots of information. So that's actually great. So I know that this URL holds this data and I can fetch it. Okay. So let's add that and let's actually log that out. Let's log that out. Okay. What do we have here? Okay, I know it's not a function. Oh, log 9. Okay, nope. Okay, it's a promise. What is that? I don't see any data here. I don't see my JSON. So the very important thing is fetching the data from the API is an asynchronous operation. You can't expect the data to arrive immediately. You have to perform the request. The request has to be transformed on the server. They have to reach to a file or a database, and then and only then the data is being sent back to you, which also takes some time. So in JavaScript, to work with the operations that they take time and will return the data in the future, there's this construct called promise. And promise, you can imagine it as being a wrapper around the value that you may eventually get. And the promise has three states. The pending meaning that pending status meaning that the promise is underway, it's working, and we have to wait for it to resolve. Then there is resolved status, which may actually contain your data. And then there is rejected, meaning during this asynchronous operation, during the process of fetching the data from the internet, there was an error. And we can see what happened with this error. There are many ways we could approach the promise. Let's try the most obvious first. We're performing the fetch, and then if something happens, we'd like to know about our data. As you can see, I also have highlighted here the catch method, and the catch is being called with an error if one happens during the asynchronous operation. Okay, so you can split it in 3 parts. Here we know that we're calling the API, so the promise is pending, we're awaiting. Then if the promise is resolved with a value, so our operation is correct, we can read the data and catch every error that happens when the promise is rejected. Okay, so let's see what we're getting here. Okay, I can see there is a response. It's here. Okay, I can even add it right here, like promise was resolved. Okay, and here promise. Oops, let's just add this and this. Promise. Oops, was rejected. Okay, let's see. Promise was resolved. Okay, fine by me. And here I have our response object from the fetch. Oops, not that. I have the status, which corresponds to the HTTP status. You can read about those here. They are very important. But for our case, the thing that interests us the most is that 200 status means everything went just fine. Okay. There is it okay? Yeah, it's okay. There's the URL, the headers, and the body as readable stream. And it doesn't look anything like I can use in my application yet. Okay, so let's first start with transforming the data so that we can read it. We can just return that data. Okay, and as you can see, I can add another then. So the promises are chainable. You can chain as many promises as you'd like, as long as you're returning something from one then to another. And I will do something like then data.json, okay, then dogos. Hey, how about now? Interesting. I got an array of objects. Okay, so the data that we're receiving from the API is actually of type of readable stream. And it's fine, but it's not really useful for us when we're creating the application. So we can use body.json and transform readable stream into our good old brand JSON. And as you can see, we have stuff here like bread for, breed, name, ID, stuff like that. So that is cool. Okay, so this is fine, but what about the catch? How does it work? Well, imagine that there's some kind of error there, and there are many types. For example, you didn't send the correct data or the data expected to the server. The URL that you provided isn't correct, it doesn't exist on the server, or you're not authorized to access the data. That's why you can see the login and register forms on most of the applications. So let me just add something here that is totally pointless, meaning that this URL isn't correct. And let's see what happens. Well, actually it doesn't throw. Okay, it doesn't go to catch. But we can fix this by saying new error, something went really wrong. Okay, let's try now. And let's just fix this to file1. Okay. And throw. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we ourselves can throw an error in JavaScript using throw, new error, and then parsing a message when we'd like to simulate some kind of error or just inform the other developers using our function that they used it incorrectly. And here we can see that this error is being catched and it's being displayed with the information that we passed here. Okay, so to sum up, let me just fix this. Just to sum up, you're fetching the data by passing some kind of URL, then you're transforming the readable stream to the JSON, and then you can work with the standard data you have. Also, you can catch any error that can occur during this operation. Here we have the pending status, pending state. Here we have resolve, here we have resolve promise, and here we have rejected promise. Okay, so that's all for this episode, and we will continue in the next one.